Color can be one of the most frustrating and most impactful aspects of illustration work. It's a bit odd for me to do a video on color because there are so many different ways to approach it. Take it as a sharing of my personal experience, the things I think and do that work for me, and most certainly not as the ultimate way to work with color. This first video is going to be mostly about how to talk about color, which is a bit like learning all the names of the equipment when you start a new sport. It's not going to make it easier to get skilled in that sport, but it does help to be able to talk about it. There are many different color theories and many different ways to define any specific color. For example, you can use the Rgb codes. This is the percent of red, green and blue light that your screen needs to project on a specific pixel to get that color. Print designers work with many different color systems, for example with the CYMK, which is the percent of cyan, yellow, magenta and black ink that is needed to create a certain color on the page. All of these and many more are completely useless to artists. Almost completely useless to artists. If you're a traditional artist, color is about how pigments behave, and you'll need to know how specific pigments mix with other pigments in the medium you are working on. For digital artists, the best way to define color is to use the Munsell system. Munsell defines each color in terms of its hue, its value, and its saturation. Hue has to do with the position of a color on the spectrum, or on the color wheel, or on the color bar, or on the color field. Be aware that the arrangement of colors on the color wheel can vary with applications. Value is the brightness or darkness of a specific color you're looking at. Different values of the same hue are sometimes called tints when they are lighter than a reference color, and shades when they are darker. Saturation is the intensity of a color. You can think of it in terms of how much gray is mixed into the color, or how much of its complementary color, or how much pigment is mixed in your medium. Different saturation levels of the same color are sometimes called tones. Let's make some examples of these terms, because I think there is a lot of confusion, or at least there was a lot of confusion for me at the beginning, and it took me a long time to fully grasp them and what they mean. These two are two different hues. One would probably be called magenta, and the other is a blue hue. When you hear terms like complementary, analogous, split complementary, etc., all of these refer to hues. These are different saturation levels of the same magenta hue, so there will be different tones of magenta. And these are different values of the same magenta hue at the same saturation level. So one is a tint, the lighter one, and the other is a shade, the darker one. Now let me show something really important. Let's take the highest saturation yellow and take away the hue information. There are three different ways at least to do this in Photoshop, and the most neutral way to remove the hue information is to add a black layer set to color on top of your colors. So if I separate out the hue information, you will see that the three parameters, hue, value and saturation, are not independent of each other. There is a complex relation of interdependence between value and saturation, which is dependent from the hue. In particular, every single hue has a specific value at maximum saturation, and this defines how much saturation you can expect from your values, or how much values you can extract from your colors at a certain saturation. So in the case of yellow, the highest saturation is very, very light. The only way to get dark with yellow without changing the hue is to reduce saturation. It's also true the other way around. To get lighter, I also have to reduce saturation. So in essence, it's like every color has a maximum saturation at a specific value and nowhere else. A bit like this, if I plot it on a graph. This may all seem very theoretical, but it has actually a dramatic practical impact. It means that depending on the effects you want to achieve in your illustration work, you may need to change the hue when you move into shadows or highlights. A very typical example is red. So if I take a brilliant red ball and I just stick to one hue, so I don't change the hue, and move into the shadow by just making the hue darker, and into the highlight by making the hue lighter. So in this other example, now I will shift the hue of the highlight to yellow. It's a very common trick because yellow gives me more saturation at light values. If I go back to my graph, and you see I want to achieve this particular light value, I can compare the saturation levels that I can extract from different colors, and I can clearly see that yellow is the one that gives me the most saturation. I'm not saying that this is what you should do, but you should be aware of these effects, of how saturation and value play together for any specific hue, so that you can actually leverage it in your illustration and control what you want to do with colors. There are variously called scales to talk about hue, value, and saturation in quantitative terms. You can hear about HSV, hue, saturation, value scale, or HSB, which is hue, saturation, brightness, or HSL, which is hue, saturation, lightness. All of these are scales of hue, value, and saturation. The Photoshop native color manager can show colors with HSB sliders. But I have to say I really don't like Photoshop color management in native. Since many years I use a plugin for Photoshop which is called Coolorus, C-O-O-L-O-R-U-S. It's a plugin that has a lot of extra features compared to the standard color manager of Photoshop, and is a lot more useful for illustrators. It costs about $15, and for me it's really worth every cent. I have to say I have no association whatsoever with the producers of Coolorus. I get no money from them. It's just a great tool and I love to use it. Coolorus shows hues on a triangle, which is somewhat better than a square, because what the square does is it extends the dark values into a line where there is actually very little perceptible change when you move the cursor along this space. So it sort of deforms the color space, if you want, the way a flat map of the world deforms the globe. It also shows, so Coolorus also shows HSV sliders, hue, saturation, value sliders, or any other color classification system you may care to use, all at the same time. It's really important, I think, for illustrators to develop an intuitive understanding of how color behaves in terms of hue, value, and saturation for digital illustrators. At least it is at least the same value as it is for traditional illustrators to learn about the way pigments behave. So spend some time moving the cursor around the color square or the color triangle and looking at the sliders. So as I said, Coolorus has the sliders below, but you can see them in the Photoshop Color Manager too. And pay attention on how value and saturation are interdependent, and see how every hue has a certain value at its highest saturation. When you get a feeling for that, you can play a really nice self-challenge. You can just look around and classify the colors you see in terms of hue, value, and saturation on an imaginary scale. Let's say low value, high value, medium value, and low value, high value, medium saturation, and try to identify the hue. It's quite tricky, especially because our world is dominated by very desaturated colors. You can do a self-check if you want by using one of the many apps that pick colors from your camera viewer. Adobe Capture does that. There is another one that's called Color ID, but there are many others on the market. There is also maybe a really cool game if you want to have some fun with colors. It's called Blendoku, and it really helps to develop color eye. It can be a pretty addictive little game. So there is one last player in the whole color terminology discussion, and it's a very familiar and famous term, and it's color temperature. Now, temperature is a different beast, because temperature is not an intrinsic feature of color. It can only be used to discuss the relationship between different colors. A color can only be colder or warmer than another color. It cannot be warm or cold by itself. Some colors, like blue, tend to very often be the colder one in any pair of color, and that's why they're often called cold colors. But that doesn't really make sense on individual colors. And the same is with orange-red, which is very often the warmer color or warmest color in an arrangement. That doesn't mean that it is warm in itself. It's just warmer often than any other color. If you want some really in-depth discussion on color relations, there is the whole body of work of Joseph Albers. But really, for practical means, it's mostly a matter of training your color perception. In the past, I did get hung up with color theory a lot, but now I realize that color is always perceptive and using colors is always experimental. There is no single trick to use color and do a great illustration, the same way there is no trick to use words to write a great novel. It doesn't matter how much grammar you study. So it's all a result of experiment and experience. And that's why the second video of this two forgets all about theory and just shows how I pick colors for an illustration.